Hello, and welcome to Herp A Derpers, a podcast about breaking the stigma on herpes and empowering the community. I'm your host, Erin DeVos. As always, you can review my episodes on YouTube, Anchor, or wherever you get your podcasts. You can also find the link to the channel on the podcast Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter page at Herp A Derpers Podcast. Thanks! Hey Herp A Derpers, we are in April and it's so crazy how this year is just seems to be flying, and I'm even thinking about last month, just how how intense it was, in terms of the beginning. Intense in meaning there's a lot of things that showed up, and there was also ways that our body tells us that we really need to slow down in the midst of all of what's been going on. And I had mentioned a few outlets on my social media that I had some other health stuff going on. I did not have an outbreak during that time, but it made me really realize that, our bodies are so powerful and what they are capable of, and also letting us know what's going on. And, it may, not come in the form of an outbreak, but it can come in the form of diarrhea. And that was exactly what happened to me. And I had a series of, allergy attacks throughout, it all in March. So I won't get too into it, but just want to say I'm feeling great, I'm feeling better, and, I'm feeling like myself again. And also, this is a big month, too. April is STI and STD Awareness Month, and so it's really nice to be able to highlight such an awareness month because, many of us are, we're always thinking about sex, and so to be able to, really think about what's going on, and also we're going to break the stigma on herpes too, which it has a very special day coming up, Break the Stigma Day on April 24th. So please be ready for what's to come of that day. There's a lot of us from HANDS members, Herpes Activist Networking to Dismantle Stigma will be sharing their stories, but also allies and also those in the herpes community too will be sharing their story. I will be going on video quite a bit that week. I really want to make an effort to really show my face more. That I'm not just the face on my podcast episodes, but knowing that I am human and that I am here, and knowing, part of breaking the stigma is being able to say it in person, to be there. So definitely pay attention in terms of what's going on the week of April 24th. And I'll also have a episode coming out that week too, specifically for that and relating to that, which makes me tie into what I'll be talking about for today's episode. Humor heals. There's so much, that we can overcome in terms of our diagnosis. We, can be low and go on the emotional roller coasters of it all. But also I've found, to be in a place where I'm able to take humor, sexual innuendo, humor in a way to another level. And what I mean by that is I'm not open in terms of when it comes to herpes jokes, only around certain people, but also knowing how people can be so sensitive to talking about how the herpes diagnosis really gets them, but also knowing that it gets everybody. And that's in a way the beauty of herpes is we are a stigmatized group of everybody that is involved. And, we want to break that. And, I was been researching quite a bit this week in terms of what ways that we can find humor in our own healing, but also looking into, what's already out there to help stigmatize or destigmatize herpes, but also like how to add humor to that too. So it's something I really wanted to explore. I'm excited to kind of share with you today, and also what we can be, more so going for. And, I just want to talk about, the power of healing and the power of finding humor in that. And so, in ways like we know that humor and like the body, like it's good to have those like natural endorphins to really lift each other up, but also, to let go of like that, like release, that giggle, that laugh, like that little joy that we can certainly see in others. And like, and humor in ways like reduces pain, like, from the heart, like physically, mentally, emotionally, like just reduces like the pain, like just really wants to be able to relax. And, in a way our bodies like can be, in response to laughter just coming about, and, I also found out that it could also like strengthen immune system function, like a good belly laugh and like being able to like work on the breathing through it all is like actually good, and like gets like your immune system going, and to have like those happier endorphins that are flowing through your body. And naturally also it decreases stress. Like when we're under stress, like we just we go into like this moment, but also we're really in ourselves, like in our head when it comes to stress. And that was certainly what I was experiencing this past week or so, in terms of like my body just needing to relax. Like my head was far ahead from what my body was capable of. So really taking like the bit to step back and, take a laugh, and also take in like what you can be doing like for yourselves as well. We just really need to be able to laugh, like to be able to find that release. Like there's so many ways to like relieve and release tension, but when we can find humor and healing all into one time, and to be mature about our feelings too, like that's something that's really important to understand. Is we have to still be sensitive to those who aren't open to talking about herpes and such, but know that it is worth a laugh to know that herpes is so common enough that there's no cure. In some ways, like there is actually a show called Future Man that is surprisingly hilarious on what would happen if the cure for herpes caused the end of the world. This show makes one of the silliest possible ways to end humanity. And of course, it would be about herpes. And the stigma of herpes can stop us from not taking in the hilariousness of what the show is trying to do, and encourage everyone to talk and mention herpes without offending anyone. And I have a firm belief that before you make any jokes about something that is deeply stigmatized, especially herpes, you have to destigmatize the thing and know when it is okay to, like when these jokes or little humor, if you will, is appropriate. And, Future Man kind of does that exactly, like, makes it appropriate, puts it in such a conversational yet funny way, but it's also, in a way serious. So if you guys haven't seen it yet, I highly encourage it. So I'm going to go into a little bit of what it's about. And so the plot of Future Man involves Josh, the main character, traveling back in time to stop a doctor from ever getting herpes. And, it's worth noting that he's not trying to stop him from getting herpes because it's gross or weird. There is a whole backstory to it. And so, it's not that Josh doesn't want Dr. Cronish to be inspired by his own STD to try to cure mankind and start a research process that eventually leads to a weaponized super cure. So Dr. Cronish has a really positive outlook and attitude about it, and it has the best intentions in destigmatizing herpes, curing it, and not stigmatizing people who have it, and that he has all in good intentions until it completely goes off the rails. And so, in a way, I do wish that, the curing for herpes sort of ends the world. It wasn't part of, like, that dialogue. But while herpes may be the start of the downfall of Earth in, like, a fictional world, it's, in a way, like, not the butt of the joke. Like, there's so many other things, like, to it. And so, I love a quote from Future Man is that it's called herpes simplex virus, but there's nothing simple about it. And, I've talked about this in my gene editing episodes, my Y episode, and not, that, herpes isn't life-threatening, but for many people who have it, the stigma is absolutely dangerous in that sense, and that it's a fear that, society, and the big pharma companies had, made us stigmatized, but also judge for what we have, and, what makes us more, unlovable just because we have herpes. And another quote that really stuck out to me during that episode, well, I am pretty much done the whole thing now, but quote that really stuck out to me the most too is that the cure for herpes shouldn't be ours to profit from, the world to heal by. And so what it means by that is just like, everyone has herpes, so like why not like everyone kind of jump into this research and profit from everybody. So it's a really exciting show to watch because not only like just the humor of it, and I found out that Seth Rogen is the producer of this too, which makes it even more of a special way to destigmatize it, like not just because of who Seth Rogen is, but like the type of humor he has, it's just so raw and real, and it's just that little humor too that you don't really like think about, like the person that your friend could be doing the zingers all the time, like that is exactly the type of humor that I feel that it can heal, and that the humor heals in that sense. And while the herpes stigma is alive and well, the people behind Future Man are cautious of, the virus can be portrayed in a negative light. So I really appreciate how, they know and like have done their research. And that I even saw that, someone on the show has herpes, and that they're, are going to break the stigma for it. And like they don't want to feel that people are feeling ashamed just because they have herpes. And it's also important to note the main character, Josh, his character, he is in the Hunger Games, so imagine him in this. It's pretty funny, actually. He even mentioned that herpes itself is not what causes the end of mankind. It is the cure for herpes that leads to a super cure for all diseases that is weaponized and used to kill off people that they don't want around anymore. So taking that into a deeper level of that is what it's really about. Like, how this cure can be weaponized and hurt so many different people. So, and all in all, Future Man is a really funny show, and I really mean it. Like, go watch it. It's so hilarious, and and especially if you're a gamer too, it's pretty, that kind of humor is in there as well. But also know it does work to help destigmatize herpes, and it's all by starting the conversation and, forcing its audience to get used to hearing the word too. So that is really cool. And maybe by the end of season 1, it won't be so much for people or viewers to deal with. So season 1 and season 2 are now available on Hulu as well. So definitely check those out. And I really appreciate, being able to take in this episode too, and knowing that, humor can really take in your soul, like take in like that, childish but mature way of taking about how we can, destigmatize herpes through humor by making it so visible and so common for everyone that, it wouldn't be so much of an issue, that it is going to be something that is talked about. And certainly Future Man is one of the first shows that are really leading it, but also what the herpes activists who are networking to dismantle the stigma are doing as well. Like, I really encourage you this month to find others hands members. Definitely search through some of my hashtags to find them, especially like stands with hands, etc. And also break the stigma day. Like, this is something that's really important that we really want to get out there, but also know that, a message is really strong for those who are willing to listen and also take action. Actions speak louder than words. We've definitely learned and been there, done that kind of thing. But really pay attention this month to really seeing how you can make an impact, but also finding ways to destigmatize herpes and other STIs as well. So I really appreciate, all of you taking the time to take in this, because in ways like it is hard to find that healing and to come to that common ground in terms of finding humor in herpes, but also finding humor in healing. Like, that's something that you really have to find within yourself, and it can only be as graceful and as encouraging as you can be to motivate yourself, but encourage others, encourage allies to also be with you, muggles, if you will, for those who don't have herpes as well. So may you find light, may you not take flight in what we are all standing for to destigmatize herpes in our community of herpes positive. Would love to hear your thoughts on Future Man. If you have already seen it, if you haven't seen it, seriously, go watch it tonight. Like, you take that time to de-stress and decompress and to really try to find the humor in this show and to realize how hard they are trying to destigmatize herpes and how normal life can really be with it. As always, feel free to share or comment on this podcast episode through YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, or email at herpederpodcast@gmail.com. Anchor listeners can now leave voicemail messages after listening to the podcast episode to get those deep reflections. It's super fun to do and share your thoughts.